So a short while ago we serviced a KWA TK45 for my mate Brian, but he also had a KWA T10 to do as well, and this is going to need a service, and I think he needs the power looking at. I think he said it was literally just running a little bit over, so not sure what's going on there, so we'll address that. Obviously this is going to take a bit of time, so like the TK45 we'll do a time lapse. So service, check the power, see what's going on, and I'll be back on camera when the time lapse finishes, and we'll see if we found anything out of the ordinary. And welcome back everybody. So the eagle-eyed viewers during that time lapse will have noticed that there's no rear recoil spring in this thing, and this has had the recoil negated, and what I do is I make a solid steel pin that goes in the back. Basically it bridges the gap between the rear spring guide and the inside recoil shock system and just turns it into a normal AEG. This is actually more common than you think. I do get asked to do this quite a lot, and it's mainly for those people that love the KWA system, they love the T10, and they're just not at all interested in the recoil. For whatever reason they have, this is quite popular. I've done quite a few of these now. Some people out there can't get their heads around why you buy a recoil shock and turn the recoil off. And it's literally just because they love the rifle. They love the way it looks. They love the way they perform. They love the way, you know, the M-lock front ends or the big stocks and everything like that. They're just not bothered about recoil, which is absolutely fine. And it does make the guns more reliable. So we're just going to shove a mag on here. I'm just using some 0.2s to see what the power's at. It did require a new O-ring on the piston head. And we'll see what this thing's shooting at. So 392, 390, 390. So yeah, there was a massive air leak on this gun, which is probably due to that O-ring. The KWA piston heads are just, they're absolutely rubbish. It's one of the main things that I say to fit. I don't know why Brian hasn't done it on his, but it's not a problem. We can tune this down, we can fit a different spring, so let's do that now. I'll just quickly change the spring out and then we'll come back and chrono it again. On second thoughts, I was going to do that quickly. I'm going to show you guys this part in the back, so I dare say I'm going to get someone ask the question. So let's pop this off here. These can be a pain to remove. I did make a tool to remove these caps, but I can't remember what I've done with it. So let's pull this off here. Long thread, and there we go. So usually you have a spring that sits here, and that's just basically turned off by this steel pin that's machined. I machine these on the lathe, goes in and basically holds this whole system forward. So you just have a normal spring guide, like a, you know, conventional AEG. I'll pop this spring out here. I don't think this is a highly powered spring, but with the T10, you can have a T10 running at about 330 feet per second. You just turn the recoil off and stop the spring guide, the recoil shock weight from moving, and it literally, you can gain, well, it's getting 60 feet per second. So he was running it okay, but that was because there was a massive air leak, because those piston heads don't expand the O-ring out as they move. So we'll see what we've got here. I do have a lower powered spring from the silverback, which might be enough. So let's try that first. Otherwise I have to go rooting around in my spring drawer. So let's pop this in here. The piston is in the rearward position at the moment, which is why there's a bit of resistance on this. A lot easier to screw in compared to that M100 though. And I remember this coming, I think he brought it into me to swap the spring out on it, and we put the M100 in there. And it was firing fine on the chrono, but obviously now with a fresh service it's it's not. So let's see what it's running at now. 280, 281. So I'll pop this spring out, find something in between, and we'll be back on camera once I've sorted that out. Okay, we've sorted the spring out. 348, obviously with no hop applied. He'll lose a little bit once he applies some hop, but that puts him in his range of his power that he needs it to be at. So we just need to seal this up now. I can locate the heat shrink. So a bit of heat shrink here. That's all done for him, nicely serviced. Fixed the issue with his pour seal. And let's get these wires sealed up now, and then we should be good to go. So with these recoil stocks, they can be a bit of a pain. So you'll have seen me do a bit of a weird way of getting this out. It's just the most inobtrusive way of doing it without having to pull the stock off. This stock's really tight, so we could just wiggle the wires through and do it that way. So we'll put this back together. Let's pop that on there like so. Seal this heat shrink up. And the oil runs out, so that's perfect. So you guys will have to let me know if you like this style of content. It's just, you know, not necessarily service work, but just work that's on the bench. I do have a Recoil Shock MP5, a Maru one, to do for a gentleman, as well as everything else. I've got so much to do, it's just unbelievable. Thankfully, everyone's been really patient with me up till now. Just too much for one person, but you know, if you guys want to see what I've always got on the bench, I will do that for you. So Brian's now sorted. The TK45 and the T10 can go back to him now. know he's itching to get them back, so pop this back in. We're almost there. There we go. Pop the stop back on. Nice load of battery space in these PTS stocks. You know, if you're wanting to run a big battery, I'd probably say this is one of the best sort of crane style stocks you can get, because you can actually, especially if you're using 11.1s and you've got a 3 stick, you can put a stick down each side of the stock tube, and then you can put one in the center as well. So if you need a big battery stock, highly recommend those. They come as standard on the Recoil KWAs. This is all done now. Ready to go back to Brian. So thanks everyone for tuning in and watching this service of this T10. And from me and Bench, I'll see you in the next video. Cheers guys.